The Excelsior U8, known locally as Wilf, has now been on the road for about a year. It's done about 1,000 miles. Their bike, in keeping with lots of lightweights of the period, was available with either direct lighting electrics or a battery powered electrical system, which effectively was battery lighting with a simple charging system to top the battery up. And they generally give you better lighting than the direct lighting system, which obviously suffers from the vagaries of how many revs you've got on. So if you've got your headlamp on and you go down to tick over, your lights go out basically. So they're very simple systems. But this bike came to me with effectively a direct lighting light switch in effect. The rest of the electrics really wasn't there. So anyway, getting hold of the Villiers or Lucas light switch, which has the full array of switch contacts to suit the old battery system, are quite expensive actually. So what I've done, I've just used the direct lighting 3-position switch and put my own simplified system of battery lighting. Now one of the big drawbacks you have with an AC alternator generator, which is the device that lurks in the large pan-like structure on those Villiers engines, knows about these little fellas. In the midst of there's an AC generator which usually puts out about 30 watts at 6 volts. But one of the problems is, even on the original battery system, you only had rectification and no regulation on the voltage. Well, of course, the voltage rises as the speed goes up and so on, and your current increases at the same time. So it's all a little bit hit and miss. And unless you have a decent sized battery on, which can take a little bit of umpty from the higher current, if you like, that may come from the generator. In modern times, a lot of people have used these new small gel batteries, which are very useful and actually last a long time, but one thing they don't like is overcharging. What I have cobbled up effectively is housed in one of the toolboxes here. Now it's a system that's developed, so the wiring isn't at its tidiest, and being a retired electrical engineer, I assure you it will be sorted out eventually, but like a lot of electrical people, you never know. So we'll have a quick look and I'll explain what we've done. We have a Berlin gel battery, which is about 4 ampere hours, I believe, something like that. These are very useful. They're actually a lead acid battery, but the electrolyte is a gel, and usually in the instructions that comes with them, it warns you very much so not to overcharge them. So just don't bang them on a car charger which happens to have a 6-volt facility. You're liable to cause them damage. They can split the cases and so on. So what I've done, anybody who knows the way around some of these little light weights will probably recognise some of the bits and bobs. On your left hand side there is a small AC regulator. Now that came from Rex Cornt, who very kindly said, sent me one and said, "Here, have a go at this," he said. And the idea behind this is, this regulator will in fact limit the voltage level that comes out of your alternator. Now it's roughly around about 7.2 to 8 volts, which I've sort of verified in testing. So that's quite useful. Now that's connected to the same terminal on the little old favourite black chocolate block regulator that you see in any auto jumble. I think this one actually came from Radio Spares. I've had it in my box for years. And really what we do there, the AC from the engine generator goes into this rectifier, and as AC in comes out magically as DC, or a type of DC anyway. It's a bit crude, but it'll be alright. But at the same time we connect the AC regulator to the same terminal as the chocolate block AC input, and that in fact does limit the output through the rectifier, thereby limiting the voltage that eventually ends up into the battery. Now this particular system is a positive earth system, and on the left hand side you can see there the negative terminal there. So this regulated AC system helps reduce the level of the voltage that, or the over voltage that may go to these little batteries. Now I've done a few miles on this and done a few tests with the lights on and things like that, and in keeping with a lot of these little systems, I find that under pilot light systems and things like that, I mean on my system I have one of Paul Goff's halogen pilot lights, which is almost as bright as a headlight, and when I use that, which is I think about 11 or 13 watts, in keeping with the backlight and everything like that, there's a nice little trickle charge goes into the battery. When I go onto the headlamp, the system just about holds its own, but since I don't do any nighttime riding on a little thing like this, I don't think it worries me. The main reason I want to have a battery in the system is in fact the fact I've got electric horn, I've got a stoplight system, and I've got the flashing indicators, which is all safety. It's a safety orientated thing. In fact, I've even got a little buzzer. Magic. Of course I can't hear it when I'm riding, of course, but it sounds alright anyway. Don't take too much notice of the rat's nest. It is a little bit experimental, but it'll be alright, and it's very sound, and I think it'll do the job. In the winter I've in terms of self-preservation, I've fitted flashing indicators. Now a lot of people think, you know, what a shame putting these on a classic old bike, but I do a riding on public roads, and time for time you come onto main roads and honestly you've got to be seen, so I've used these designs. Now these particular indicators are supplied by Paul Goff, who's a well-known supplier in the UK of electrical bits, and these are about the most robust ones I've seen. They're effectively a plastic indicator light mounted on a steel core, which is very different to what you can get on the market. They're often like a plastic moulding moulded onto a bolt, and really it doesn't take much to pull the bolt out of the plastic. Well, with these it's totally different, and as you can see I have actually used these to replace the headlamp fixing, and they're very sound and very robust. Obviously I've used the same idea on the back as well, so very pleased with them, but they are a little bit more expensive than you would buy on any of the parts. Part of this little resume on the progress of Wilf, my Excelsior U8. It's gained a little top box. The top box, which apart from being a useful device for sticking transfers, as one of my suppliers, named Tarbo's a well-known Villiers supplier, and our old friend Villiers Services, they keep me going as well, and the beautiful Excelsior badge, which I think it's one of the nicest badges going. And incidentally, if you're curious about the name Wilf, my story is the guy who holds the flag at the top of the Excelsior badge, he was actually called Wilf. Now whether that's true or not remains to be seen, but it's a nice little story. The other side, a sign of my misspent youth. Quite a rare transfer now. I used to do sand racing in my youth in the 60s, and I happen to have a transfer, which is quite a nice transfer. So there we are. I can carry a few sandwiches and a few tools and that, and it looks alright. So I'm quite looking forward to the start of the classic season, which is imminent, and I shall hopefully follow up with a few on-road tests for you, and you'll see how the little animal operates. Thank you very much.